All right, we're on, man. How you doing?
Good, buddy. How's it going?
Good. I'm excited to do this.
This will be fun. I'm really excited. I think the topics will be beneficial to people. And I think the format and kind of how we want to do this will be good as well. Hopefully, people enjoy it.
Episode 1. Let's fucking go.
Let's go.
All right, let me hit you with the intro real quick. What's going on?
Not much, man. Watching that, I realized I got to get a new professional photo. My face looks fat.
That's all right. We can get game plan squad photos.
Yeah, we get squad photos. I was looking at that and I'm like, man, I'm like a fine wine. I age a little better as the longer it goes.
I have some young headshots. I just got some yesterday, so I'm excited to put those in.
Yeah, man.
So let's get this started. I'm excited to do this with you. Obviously, we've been working together for since like 2016?
Something like that. Yeah, it's probably been good 7 years or so. But it's been good, man. And I think we're very much aligned in terms of our approach to business and life and managing all of it. And, unlike the normal, we'll get into all this in a little bit, but like, unlike the normal, you get on social media, you watch people that discuss real estate, finance, any of that stuff. It's all to me, it's kind of like all mushy. Look at me, look at how great I'm doing, whatever. And I think we want to kind of take a different approach in terms of, talking about real estate topics, mindset, personal growth. So this will be exciting, man.
It's about the journey, man. We're recording the journey.
I like it. So go ahead.
I got Steve with me here. Steve Beskid. He is a fantastic mortgage broker. I met him, I think, 2016 through a transaction, Cody, with Cody Warren. You were the I think you were representing the buyer on a listing that I had of his.
That sounds correct.
I was just really impressed by your follow-up, calling me every Friday to let me know what was going on. And
Friday, baby.
I recognized something in you that thought I'd give you a try, and you've been my go-to ever since. Certainly, we've been.
I remember that deal now.
Certainly, we've become friends over that time and gotten pretty close. So, thanks for doing this with me, first and foremost. Sure, I'm excited to work with you. Obviously, we talk on the phone all the time about growth and trying to figure out how to get better. And, honestly, for me, one of the ways that I'm trying to get better is be more on camera, be more comfortable with that, be more out there. And so this is as much about accountability and making myself do it. So thanks for coming along with me and working on this.
Yeah, same, man. And I know, obviously, like you said, we have our conversations and we talk business, talk things. And for me, like diving deeper and being on camera and discussing like my approach to mindset, to business, to life, balancing it all, like that's all stuff that like I'm very passionate about. So like being able to have open discussion. I know we want to in the future bring on other business owners and just collab and share thoughts and feelings and such on business. So this is going to be fun. And I know for us starting this was to, like you said, get on camera, build that awareness, brand awareness, and then, discuss business, professional development, discuss real estate, discuss sports, discuss, we're both dads. We've got little young ones, what that looks like, and, kind of peel back the curtain a little bit, if you will, on, just the day to day and kind of, what that looks like. And for me anyways, I want to be able to share information and content that I think is actually valuable to people that they can use in day-to-day operations. I don't think our target audience is really necessarily anybody in particular. You could be in real estate, you could be in business, you could be a potential home buyer, whatever that is. But I mean, I think we'll have something for, a little bit of everybody. And I know for myself, the age that we're in, everything is content driven, right? So, I feel like this is a good forum, a good format for us to share thoughts, share feelings, and kind of people want to do business with, someone they know, like, and trust, they can relate to. And I feel like that, this is that for us.
Sure. We enjoy talking to each other. So why not record it?
Right.
Put it out there for everyone to hear.
Edit out the bad stuff and keep the good stuff.
Yeah. So, I guess I think one of the major things we're going to talk about is goals, how we started the journey, and why don't you first and foremost introduce yourself? Tell me a little bit how you got started in mortgage, and obviously starting your own business, where you are now.
Yeah, so I am in lending now, going on, it'll be 12 years this spring. So a little background, I'm not from Columbus originally. I grew up in rural Eastern Ohio. I think a lot of people who probably know me that don't know that will find that kind of fascinating. But went to Ohio Dominican here in Columbus, graduated, had some, job out of school, but I got my start in mortgages at Chase. I worked in consumer direct call center, was there for about a year and a half. And for me, I'm like, man, this is not for me. This is not my personality. I'm not meant to be locked up in a cube, super corporate structure. Like that's not, I'm not corporate.
Sure.
So, left there, went to company that we refer to as the old place. And kind of got my start there being more independent, right? So for me, when I got there, it was, how do I take my strong suits, build a book of business, create processes that, because you're selling yourself, right? Like mortgages to me is a commodity. Like everybody, aside from pricing in certain things and certain products, like everybody's selling out of the same wagon, right? So like you go talk to somebody, everybody's doing the same thing. So who, how are you going to sell yourself?
So let me ask you this. Let me interject. So how did you, being from rural, middle of nowhere, build a book of business?
Yeah. So that, honestly, so when I started at the old place, a lot of it at first was, they provided leads and I worked leads, and, I mean, me and kind of how I work, like I grinded the hell out of those leads, man. So what kind of after a year into it, I'm like, hey, this is getting very transactional. All I'm doing is just closing leads all the time, but this is not the way I see myself wanting to grind going forward, is just pounding the phones, working phones for leads all the time. How do I take these leads and use these as opportunities to get in front of people like, yourself and other agents? I would say probably 75-80% of my book of business, realtor wise, in terms of who I work with, all came off of listing agents, and kind of I reverse engineered the process into like, okay, as I'm going on these appointments with realtors, what are, the top 5 things that are concerns? Okay, well, how about I just build a process that addresses all of those? And then why don't I use these leads to get in front of people? Because, any LO will tell you the hardest thing to do is to get in front of somebody, to have that time with them, because you're busy. You don't want to talk to an LO. You don't want to
You mean call me to get a cup of coffee?
Nobody's going to coffee. Stop it. I mean, you better off to go hand out business cards at the mall. Like what? I mean, stop it. But that's a whole nother topic. I could go on for that. But I'm like, okay, so I've got these leads, right? There's a buyer's agent and a listing agent on every single one of these. First and foremost, they can't be super committed to whoever they're working with, because I'm working the deal. And when you do sit down with the realtor as a loan officer, what's the number one thing you're doing? Hey, try me out on the next deal. Show you what I can do. However everybody wants to spin it, right? And for me, it was like, okay, well, I've got 2 agents right here. I don't have to add. They get to see what I can do by default, and then kind of let me build my process of communication around convenience for them. Like, because my whole thing was always like, if you send me a referral, that's all you need to do. You'll be in the loop. Listing agent will be in the loop. Buyer will be in the loop. You don't need to do anything. Just go sell more houses, right? That was the whole. I guess that was
the way I've always felt with your business.
Core of what it was about for me, anyways. Is like, I don't want to have to get a call from a buyer. I don't have to get a call from a listing agent. I don't want to have to deal with it. So that's what it was all based around. And then from there, just kind of slowly, with the updates every Friday and then all the other stuff we were doing, after you've done that, when you get to the end of the transaction, if you did a good job, your conversion rate of getting an appointment with one of those realtors is off the charts compared to just sitting there picking up the phone, calling people that you don't know, you haven't met, you've never done anything with. So
100%.
That was kind of how I built it up over time. So yeah, 75, 80% of the realtors that I work with were all listing agents on deals early on. And
you hooked me, brother. You hooked me.
Well, the thing is like, and the other piece of it is nobody calls listing agents. You're just a listing agent. You're just like, oh, I hope everything's going how it's supposed to go.
Yeah. Or you're trudging along and expecting everything to go well. And then you have your sellers reach out, trying to figure out what's going on, make sure everything's okay, or whatever. I've since built systems in to check in with the loan officers or whoever, but honestly, you just hope everything's going okay, and occasionally reach out, just say, hey, where are we at on the appraisal, X, Y, and Z. But honestly, it's a bit scary because every once in a while you get that lender contact who's like, hey, I know we're supposed to close tomorrow. Well, we've been working on something for 2 weeks now that's been a real challenge.
Sure.
And sorry we didn't call you about it to let everyone know. What the fuck? I mean,
well, the other piece of it is transparency, right? Like, as you go through, so the whole thought process around, the kind of the process we set up, and I don't want to get into the whole spiel on this, but like,
yeah, we can talk
between the automated updates that we send out and the weekly calls and then the group chats, there's, everybody's getting a touch once a week, right? And on those calls, like, and even it starts at pre-approval, if there's something hard on a deal, just be transparent and tell the buyer and the buyer's agent about it. The surprises come up 99.9% of the time, and there's probably loan officers that don't want to admit it, but I put a lot of money on it. It's because you saw a problem that could be a potential problem, and as opposed to bringing awareness to it, you decided, I think I can fix it, and then nobody needs to know about it. But then what happens is you don't fix it, and now it is last minute because those things take a little bit of time to fix, and then there you are at the last minute holding the bag. Where if you handle it on the front end and just tackle it head on, you're like, hey, this could be a problem. I just want to let you know now. So if it does become a problem,
I appreciate that about
everybody knows this is what it is. This is what we're doing to try to circumvent it or work around it, or here's our fix for it. But it's not a guarantee that's going to work either. And then if something goes sideways, everybody's fine because at least they knew. And it's not like 2 days before closing, what do you mean there's a problem? This is the first I'm hearing about that. And everybody panics. So that communication is it's important, and it goes for everything. It goes for business. It goes for your personal life. It goes for your, it goes, not to get too deep, it goes for your marriage. It goes, you got to communicate. You got to tell people what's going on. But, so kind of getting back to the initial question.
So what led you to start your own brokerage
company?
Yeah. What's it?
So when we started Covita, so it's been about 5 years now. So I started that. You met Matt, my business partner, Matt. Matt was the sales manager where we're at. I was the top producer there. And we got to a point where, my first year with where we were, each year for the first 4 years, I doubled my business. Well, double. 3 years. 3-4 years, whatever. And then it got to a point where it was pretty self-sufficient, right? And it's like, okay, well, I'm not really relying on this company for anything. All they're doing is kind of taking a cut off of the business that I'm generating. And then, there are other things that I won't get too much into, that were becoming a hindrance to me being able to operate how I wanted. And I'm like, I just kind of want autonomy to do it and handle how I want. And there's a lot of stuff, and we'll get into all this in future podcasts in the lending world, where we wanted to start this to do things differently, to do things just with a little more ethics, honestly, right? Like, know that the buyer's getting taken care of, they're getting a fair deal, that, the LO, because we're in the process of recruiting, like when we bring LOs on, that, they're getting paid well. They know that we're not just taking a fat rip off of their deals and not providing them anything of benefit in the meantime. And that's kind of what happens. And then ultimately the person that pays is the consumer. They pay more, they pay higher rate, they pay higher fees. Like that all shakes out in the wash that way. So when we started it, it was kind of like, okay, here's things that we see where we're working now. We don't think this is right. Not the right way to do business. Is not fair. So we don't really rely on them for anything. So let's just go do this on our own and, take the good, put what we think we can do better on top of it, and build something better.
Congrats to you, man. That's good.
Yeah, it's going to be 5 years next month.
It's awesome.
Which is kind of crazy. It just seems like it was yesterday, but
I remember.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. I'm happy with it. Now the next piece for me is the growth, right? Like, okay, it's 4 going on 5 years.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a whole different subject matter in and of itself. And for me, like I do say this the right way. Like I do want to help. I don't have a problem helping people that want help. You got to want the help, and I'll give it to you. But like I'm going to bring it every day, and I want people around that are also going to bring it every day.
Yeah. What time do you wake up every morning?
3
a.m.
3. You get to the gym around 4:30, just depending on the day. The whole goal is to get everything in personal wise before the kids are up, right? Like they get up around 6. So, I get up, get to the gym, get home. I'm usually home. They just woke up, and then start the day from there. And everybody thinks I'm crazy, but I guess I won't debate that. But, what's kind of funny is after some time, like I think it goes for anything. Like once you get a routine, it just like, even if I'm out of town and I don't have I was in Orlando about a month and a half ago. It was inevitable. Every morning I roll over, wake up, look at my phone. It's 3:30. Like it's just like clockwork. So actually when I'm gone, I have a hard time because from like that 3:30 to whenever I decide I'm going to sleep in, it's just up every 15 minutes. My body's like, what are you doing? We got to go. But no, man, I mean, but I think that, I guess, the purpose of this podcast initially is this first episode is, for people to get to know. So like I grew up rural Ohio on a farm. My dad was a construction worker. So like my concept of work is derived from that,
That example. Yeah.
That example. And like, I get you hear people, right? And they're like, what we do is hard. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. We've got to go places, and you got to like answer the phone, and you got to answer some emails. Like, it's not, I've done hard stuff. This is not hard, and we get paid very, very well to do it.
Exactly.
So that's just kind of my approach to business and life in general, is just through that lens, just because that's, I don't know, it's just how I came up. And I mean, I've applied it to everything I've done, and it's served me well to this point. No reason not to be that way. No, I don't think there's any substitute for, rolling up your sleeves and just making something happen. There's just not.
Yeah, you got to put in the effort.
100%.
That's how you get paid.
What goes for everything. I mean, everything. There's nothing easy. There's nothing free. When you asked me earlier about like building, my book of business, I feel like there's a lot of people, regardless of your industry, you're looking for too many people are looking for a shortcut. Like, okay, like, no, this is going to take some time. Like, you're going to have to put in late nights. You're going to have to, get in early. You're like, those first probably 3 years at the old place, there wasn't a day I didn't leave I'd get at the office at like 8:30, and I'd be gone at 7:00. That's just what it was.
You got to put in the effort. You got to put in the systems.
Well, and then what happens is, like, then, 5 years later, you can look back, and if you want to take your foot off the gas because you've built a sustainable model, you can, right? Like, you can build it to what you want, right? But you can't get to point B without starting here. You've got to go through the whole thing.
There's no elevator. There's no elevator.
No, exactly. There's no elevator.
You got to take the stairs.
100%. But yeah, man. Yeah. How so you've been with Jeff and Mayor how long?
I'm going on 10 years, February of 2024. So almost 10 years in the business. Most people don't last 2. So
right.
I'm excited. I'm doing a little something to celebrate my 10 years in the business. I got a custom crew jersey ready to rock with the 10 on it. So, it's been a wild ride for sure. I moved back to Columbus in 2013 and knew I wanted to get into real estate. I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do in real estate, honestly, but moved back from 10 years away in Denver and Chicago.
What was your favorite place you lived out of the two of those? What's better, Denver or Chicago?
I don't know. I mean, Denver was just amazing.
For living, not to visit, for living.
Denver was amazing. Visit or live, whatever. Denver is an incredible place. Chicago, I always tell people it's an awesome place to visit. It's a shitty place to live.
I've been to Chicago once. No, twice. I take it back twice.
I mean, I love it there. I'm a Chicago sports fan. So Chicago is a place near and dear to my heart. I have a ton of family there. It's something I had to get out of my system, but I chose Denver, Colorado for school. I went to the University of Denver, and I had so much fun out there skiing, learning how to ski. Really, I skied a little bit growing up, but on little teeny mountains here.
Your tall ass was skiing?
What's that?
I said your tall ass was skiing.
I skied a lot. I think I skied, I don't know, 35, 40 times at least in one season.
Snowman coming down.
In one season, I skied it like 35, 40 times. I had a season pass, and it made it super easy. We just had a ton of buddies who love to go up there, and there's always something to do outside in Colorado. Doesn't matter what time of year. Weather's amazing. The people are all from different places, and so everybody's really friendly because very few people are really from there. So everybody's trying to meet somebody new, and I loved it about that city. Nice. And so I honestly don't get out there enough. I went out there in August, and it's a cool place, and I'm excited to try to go back there more often to visit friends and whoever lives out there. But back to the business. I started in 2013 getting my license, and I was working at Lindy's across the street from VTech and Rough, where I am now. Knew I had to have a little something to supplement my income, and I worked in hospitality in Denver, and growing up, honestly, I worked in restaurants and hotels, and so I was like, I'll get wait tables, so I have a little bit of flexibility while I'm getting licensed, and getting my feet off the ground, getting a few deals under my belt. I did not have VTech and Rough even kind of on my radar. Obviously, I knew who they were. I've known Marilyn just since the Lindy's days of my dad. They worked together in the 80s there. So I've known her for some time, and just as a long, kind of a friend of a friend in a way. And I was getting licensed. I have a ton of family in the industry, and I called Marilyn. I think I emailed her first and said, "Hey, you're an expert in the field. Can I buy a cup of coffee? I'd love to just have 30 minutes of your time. I just want to find out how to get started in this business on the right foot. What can I do to get the ball rolling faster?" And we met at Pistachio Vera. I was interviewing with commercial agents. I was interviewing with the Rains Group. And I didn't treat meeting Marilyn as an interview. Obviously, I wanted to present myself well, but they hadn't really taken on many new agents. First, just getting into the business agents at VTech and Rough. So I wasn't really expecting to get hired there. And I turned, 30 minutes turned into an hour and a half conversation, amazing conversation with Marilyn.
Awesome.
And then she said, "Hey, I want you to meet Jeff, my partner, Jeff Ruff." And I went in the office, met Jeff, and then it turned into, "Hey, I think we want to hire you." And for me, I was sort of trying to figure out if I want to do commercial or residential, and I wasn't too sure. And in a way, residential I knew was a way to sort of get the ball rolling a little faster. And I had done architecture programs in high school that were college prep architecture classes, and so I had a little bit of an understanding of homes and interests, and grew up as a Lego guy. I'm kind of a nerdy Lego guy, computer guy, whatever. And it turned into, "Hey, we want to hire you." And then I was balancing, I was writing offers between shifts at Lindy's. I had 30 minutes, and I was literally sweating, just sweat pouring down my face. 2014, trying to write an offer, didn't really know how to write a good offer, and had to get it off for signatures in 30 minutes in a clunky old system we had with our old brokerage, and had to get it, signed and back in 30 minutes so I could send it off before my next shift, before the dinner shift. And, just 3 months of working 80 plus hours, just every waking second I had, I was trying to do one or the other. And then Jeff and Marilyn said, "Hey, we are looking for someone to help us with our business. We're really busy. You've done a great job so far. We like the way you represent yourself, and we need somebody that can show houses for us, help write contracts, just work on stuff while we're busy. If we're on vacation, we don't want to put all of it, all of our business on, if Marilyn's on vacation, just want to put it all on Jeff, and vice versa." And so I helped them with their business while I got to build a book of business. from about 2014 till about 2020. It was just an unbelievable opportunity to learn from two of the best people in the business, not just great agents, but really good human beings. And for me, it was a mentorship with two, not just one, but two really amazing agents. So I'm really grateful for that opportunity. They paid me a salary, so I got to supplement my income while I was trying to get deals to happen, which was a huge opportunity. I never probably would have been able to make it without that.
Sure.
Without that chance. So I'm really grateful for them and learned so much along the way. They really threw me into the deep end in a lot of circumstances, and it was just a huge opportunity. I love just diving in and having to figure it out as I go along.
Sure.
It's why we're doing this podcast, right?
Yeah, man.
So you fast forward 2020, pandemic hit. I was crushing it in my own business. Was able to, I just had a son, our oldest Beckett, and when Jeff and Marilyn were calling me to jump at something, I was used to jumping. Like whenever they said, "Hey, I need you to do a showing in a half an hour," I was like, "Sure, no problem. I'll be there." Drop what I'm doing, I'll be there. And because of my son and because of my own business
Sure.
that I built over that time, I was less able to jump when they said jump. And it was a little bit trickier. So, I'm my own agent now on their team. Love being on their team. It's a really collaborative environment. And, we have 14 agents. So all of us really work hard together, encourage each other.
You guys have a great vibe.
Learn from each other. It's not competitive in any way, really. It's an opportunity to try to push each other in the right direction.
Sure.
And through that business, I have just worked relentlessly on, since 2020, really. I'd say before then, there was a bit of treading water, trying to get my own deals done as much as possible, work with Jeff and Marilyn. I was working a ton, and it was all great. I was getting paid really well, and between both, and then pandemic hit, and it shifted. My business was amazing. Got a ton of deals done. I think I'm in the 300 or 400 deals at this point, 10 years in. But I had sort of had a chance finally to look at who I was as an agent, try to figure out what my brand was. It's definitely still a work in progress. I'm learning more and more. But over the last couple of years, I've really started to dive into how I wanted to grow, what I wanted to do for me, and not just helping Jeff and Marilyn. So that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast. I really want to be able to feel more comfortable on camera and get used to it. I heard an analogy the other day is agents are afraid to get on camera because they expect it to be perfect and look great right away. They said, well, professional soccer players, they don't get out and, are amazing soccer players, MLS soccer players, the first time they kick a ball.
Right.
It takes effort.
If you look at, I was listening to a Rogan episode recently, and they brought up like their very first episodes and how terrible they looked. I was like, God, this was so bad.
This may be a painful episode for some people to watch, but
Right.
For me, it's
It'll grow
about,
into something.
yeah, for me, it's about keep swinging the at bats, and over time turning that into something that I'm excited about. So,
Well, and I think that's
um,
something you and I have bonded over a lot is just the hustle, man. Like there's at least for me, it's a hard time in like uh, friends and personal relationships for people that don't have that. Because I tell it's an important quality, like just in one from a business standpoint, like people you want to do business with, right? Like you want to know. For me, it's easy to have somebody when things are going well, right? Like everybody's eating, everyone's doing well, things are going well. Like that's not who I want to know. Like it's easy for everybody to be good in that time, but what's it? Who's going to be in the foxhole with you when things go sideways?
yeah, and encourage
None of the
each other,
company
and
bonded
for
over.
sure. Yeah, I mean, I think you are a big Kobe fan, big
Well,
Jordan
I'm
fan,
also
but I'm a big Jordan guy. I've always, growing up a Chicago sports fan, revered him, and introspectively, as he has been retired for a long time, and I look at him, I sort of translate that to mentality in business. Not being an asshole, obviously, but um, work ethic, right? Trying to lead by example, trying to
exactly.
not be
I was gonna
afraid
say that.
to take on challenges and dive in full force. And you and I always chit chat about crazy Kobe quotes and Jordan quotes. And
Well,
we
see,
we
like
had a lot of conversations over the last dance.
oh yeah, and the lead by example thing's huge as well. Like I think I shared this on my Instagram the other day. It was a clip from The Last Dance, and it was um, Jordan talking about how you can say what you want about him, but none of his teammates knew there was nothing that he would ask them to do that he wouldn't. His words were that I wouldn't fucking do. You know what I mean? Like, and there's no replacement for that. And then you've probably seen the meme of like you've got it's like a chariot and it's got the leader. He's on the chariot and he's like whipping everybody out in front of him, but then it's got the second picture and he's in the front pulling it in front of everyone. Like I feel that's leadership, right? Uh that's what that's what leadership requires. Not
Yeah,
not just rule with an iron fist type thing.
I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I went to National Upper Leadership School in high school. Hiked, it would have been 30 days in the wilderness in Alaska.
No,
Um,
you definitely tell me this.
and 30 days in like the Keaton Mountain Range. We hiked, I think it was 180 miles over 30 days, and
Oh, that is
through
sweet.
up and down mountains. And yeah, I think it was 12 of us, and I think it's kind of a joke, but only 10 made it home.
Okay.
We had to get one person had a issue in the first day and had to go back down the mountain, and another person had to leave on in a helicopter.
Oh gosh.
Um, but it was a really tough thing, and it was not only mentally something that was a real challenge, but also a great motivator. But the focus of it was, you're doing all these hikes, and then at the end of the day, and on your break days, you're learning about leadership. And so, even though I'm not a lead on my team, I'm not a you know two of the partners like Jeff and Marilyn.
Sure.
I've always trying to bring something to everyone else on my team. Be someone that dives in on certain things and tries to figure out new technology,
Sure.
marketing, whatever, and try to share it with the rest of the group. Share it with Jeff and Marilyn, whoever. Um, so that we can all get better. I think it's a really important piece of what we do. And I think it also translates to our clients as well. Being good leaders for our clients, helping them understand the process and have real transparency there, treat them in such a way that they really appreciate what we've done and have a real good understanding of what to expect.
Sure.
Along the trail of home ownership or whatever. So
when I feel like in business as well, like using the sports analogy, which is something, we'll do a lot of that, but not everybody's going to be the leading scorer, right? And that goes, for business, relationships, everything. Like not everybody's going to go get 30 a game. Somebody's got to play defense. Somebody's going to dive for loose balls, but that's all. But everybody kind of that doesn't mean you're not a leader. Just because you're not the pre-game speech rah guy doesn't make you not a leader. And I feel like
exactly
leadership is very specific, right? Like you've got to be you, right? Because as soon as you try to be something you're not, everybody on the team sees right through that. Like, they're gonna be like, if you got up on the desk and started, beating your chest, giving a pregame speech, somebody's gonna be like, Brooks, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know what I mean? But that's that, and there's nothing that's okay. I feel like a lot of people try to force it, right? Because they think they've got to fit some sort of mold to what they, need to look like or act like as a leader or a business person. Or, we were having this discussion yesterday, just even in regards to content creation in general and like building a brand for yourself. Like you've got to be genuinely you, or it's just going to seem fake. And somebody's like, I'm not watching this. What is this? This guy's clearly pretending. So, and I know that's stuff that we'll touch on a lot in terms of, just professional and personal development, and, realizing what your strong suits are, and, also have an accountability to be able to, realize what you're not good at, and either be like, okay, well, I'm not good at this. Can I change it? Right. Like, and if so, how? And if not, okay, well, let me highlight what I am good at and not focus on whatever this is that I suck at.
I think you and I tell each other when we need to improve on certain things. I think we give each other honest feedback.
That's important. It's important to have that person in your life, or people, or group of people, or friends, or whatever, where it's not just going to, inflate your ego. It's like, oh yeah, man, you're doing great. Or, you need that buddy that's going to pull you aside and be like, hey, dude, you sound like a dumbass. You realize that, right?
Listen, I'll tell you one thing. I so appreciate people that give me feedback. There's certain things that I'll just say, you know what, I don't agree with it, and I'm going to keep moving forward on something. But, whether it's my wife giving me honest feedback, whether it's you, people in my office.
Does your wife honestly, give you
feedback? Yes. But honestly,
I just got some feedback right before we started.
When it's constructive feedback, it means the world to me. Honestly, I think that self-awareness is really important, but also having good sounding boards in your life and having people that can be straightforward and say, I come to you, Steve, and I say, hey, Steve, I'm really interested in doing this. Here's where I'm started. What do you think? And, it's important to get other perspectives.
Sure. I think it's important also to push the envelope a little bit and, get outside of your comfort zone. Especially, on the topic of like content creation, like, it's the first time you grab your phone and throw it down to record yourself. You're like staring at yourself and you're like, okay, what am I gonna? This is gonna sound bad, but like, no, just do it. what's the worst that's going to happen? You sound like a buffoon and you make a bloopers reel and people laugh at it, and then it's funny. Like what's the worst that could happen?
That's exactly what I did, Steve.
Well, that's content, right? Like,
yeah.
and you become more genuine through that process. People are like, oh, this person is a real person. So I think out of fear, a lot of times people just don't even start something because they're just scared. And that, I think, not to get too deep, but like that all comes back to you caring too much what somebody else thinks, right? Like you're not being true to yourself. Just do you. If you don't like my video or you don't like something, then don't watch. Like I don't have a gun to your head making you tune into our podcast. Like if you don't like it, don't watch. I hope you do.
I heard a really powerful thing the other day, and it was yesterday. I was at an event, and there's probably 150, 200 people in the room.
That was the brand building thing, right?
Brand building thing, yeah. And when the head speaker got up and he said, sometimes I do content, and he does podcasts and he does social, and he's got a ton of followers. He's like, sometimes I do stuff or I used to do stuff and I got 150, 200 views, and that felt like shit. It felt like not enough. It felt like it flopped. Right. And he said, and then I started to think about it, and he said, what if you thought everyone in the room, all the 200 people in that room, saw your post? That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. And so be grateful for that. Be proud of that, and keep moving forward.
And all it takes is one, right? Like you get one, somebody shares it with the right like just do it, keep going. And I feel like a lot of times in business, and I had this conversation with Morgan, and I've had it with other loan officers that have just, asked me for just general advice, and you get too hung up on the what, like what should I be doing specifically? And it's like, it matters, but at the same time, it doesn't. Just whatever it is for you, just do it, and do it consistently and repetitively. Like too many people try to follow the same playbook, like, well, so-and-so did this and that worked for them. And don't get me wrong, like sharing best practices, I think is fantastic. But at the same time, like you can't duplicate, someone else's personality, their process, their, how they speak, how they articulate themselves, how I handle a one-on-one meeting with someone versus, some other, like your approach is going to be different. So you can't think that you're just going to take what someone else does and duplicate
Put yourself in that box.
It doesn't work that way. You can take bits and pieces and like, oh, okay, I like this. This fits me. This doesn't. I can't do that. And you go with it. And I think that's huge, is not getting so focused on the what, is just more so coming up with what is for you and then doing it. Just do it. And you have to stick with it. It's not, all right, I did it for 6 weeks and I didn't get a deal, so I'm done. No, you got to keep. I think it's the Nick Saban quote. It takes what it takes. And you don't get to pick what it takes. This is what it is. So you just keep going.
And it goes back to this. Honestly, this podcast is about having somebody that can keep me accountable to keep doing it. If it doesn't work right away, if it doesn't get a ton of views right away, just keep doing it until we figure it out, get better at it, and having somebody to keep me on it. Another thing that I have a big mouth. I'll be honest. I have a big mouth. I have trouble keeping a secret. But one of the things that I've learned is that telling people your dreams and telling people the things that you want to accomplish is another way to keep yourself accountable. putting it out there and
put yourself out there.
Yeah. I mean, I told a number of people I'm nervous about doing a podcast, and I'm nervous about being on camera, but I told a group of people I'm going to fucking do it.
Yeah.
So that it happens.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell a bunch of people do it. And then they come back to me and say, hey, how's that podcast going? I'm like, never started it.
Right. Exactly.
Never got
feeling.
there.
This is a terrible feeling.
Yeah.
You tell somebody, I'm going to do this. And they're like, oh, how'd that go? And you're like, yeah, about that.
I've been there.
We're not going to talk
honestly.
about that.
I've been there, and it's not somewhere I want to be. And there's going to be things that I'm going to learn along the way that are not going to be part of just the value of doing this podcast. Unexpected surprises that are going to benefit us from doing this.
Sure.
So
the worst that happens is you and I have, an in-depth conversation on stuff that we like, and it's just on camera. Like, that's the worst that happens.
An hour-long accountability call, right?
If anything, this would have been a phone call at some point anyways.
It's so true.
So hopefully somebody gets something out of it. Like I said, I know for me, and just the theme of people getting to know us and kind of our why we want to do this is it's just professional, personal improvement, accountability, and knowing that it's say this the right way, knowing that it's okay to screw up and learn, as long as you're learn and receptive. There's nothing more annoying than the person, and we all know them, that just can't take feedback. Like they get feedback and they get mad, or they want to argue it, or no. Well, I deal with this with and we've got 5-star reviews on Google. Haven't had anything less, but on occasion you'll get that email or that text from somebody that's got bad, negative feedback on something, how something went, right? And most people's first reaction is, oh, that's bullshit. This happened and that happened. This is why, and yada, yada. Well, it's like, well, no, regardless of how you feel about it, that was that person's experience. Like, you can't take that from them. That's how they felt it went, whether it was warranted or not. Yeah. Like, that's just how it went. So I know you're going to go off on a tangent there.
No, I think it's important to not only take from that, be a good listener, and also understand that you're a work in progress. While you can expect to do a great job every time, that may not come across to whoever, and you got to own it and try to find something that you can take out of the experience. If I have a bad deal, if I have a bad day, if I have a bad whatever, I'm always trying to figure out, okay, well, what can I learn to improve upon that? How do I make sure that I'm not doing the same dumb shit over and over again, making the same mistakes? And I'm really, really conscious of that. I make a lot of mistakes, but I try not to make the same mistakes over and over again.
Yeah.
So
I think we're getting into the end of the year, right? Like, it's Q4. I just was setting up an appointment with somebody yesterday, and in our back and forth, I was like, well, I'm gonna be gone over Thanksgiving. I'm like, holy shit, it's Thanksgiving already. Thanksgiving's in a couple weeks. But everybody does their planning. They set goals. They do whatever. And this time of the year, I feel like, one, if you haven't started that already, that process, whatever that looks like for you, I think you're behind, right? Like, you can't wait. Do not wait till January. Do not wait till January 1 to set your goals and your game plan. You're too late, because you implement things, and you're not going to get the ball rolling on everything until, February, March anyways. And you know how real estate works, like especially with what we're doing, everything kind of falls roughly 30 days in behind. So if you implement something in January, it's going to take a couple months to come to fruition. You've always got to be working, to me, a quarter ahead or a couple months ahead.
Yeah. 100%. They say 90 days in our business.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing in 90 days translates to business. Whatever you're doing now translates to business 90 days from now.
I wholeheartedly agree. And, so right now I think is a good time to be setting goals. If you haven't already, you'd get right on it for Q1 and
2024.
Yeah, exactly. And then take a good, honest look at this past year. What went well? What didn't? Have some accountability for yourself. Like, hey, because like I've got and I've got it in my notebook back here. Like I've got a daily, for me, when it comes to goal setting, I like to reverse engineer everything. So like I start with big number in mind. Like I want to do X in production or X in income or whatever that looks like for somebody. And then I work it backwards. Like, okay, based on, last year, the average loan size was X dollars. So that means I'm going to have to do this many deals. So that means I got to do this many a month. And then that means I got to do this many a week. And then that means I've got to do this many, based on pull-through percentage. That means I'm going to need to do this many pre-approvals. So then from there, I'm like, all right, I've got this worked all the way backwards from a big number to a small number that I can just hit daily, weekly. And then what I like to do is then be like, okay, this is how am I going to do this? What are my action items to hit this weekly, daily? What are my daily action items to hit this weekly number? And if I just do the daily action items every single day, the number will be there. I don't need to look at the number. I don't need to work, like it will be there. It just will. And if it's not, the likelihood that you're just doing something wrong is not high. It's usually that you're just not doing the stuff, that you're not following through on things, and your consistency sucks.
All right. So next episode, December 2023, bring me your goals. I'll bring you my goals.
Okay.
2024 goals. What we're going to work on. Let's bring some learning lessons from 2023.
Sure.
Yeah, I think
accountability part is huge. Most people, I'm actually the opposite on accountability. Like I have people that are like, "Hey, you're too hard on yourself. You need to stop it." There's good in that, right? Like, because you're looking for that small edge. It's like that competitive side of you. It's like, yeah, that went fine, but it could have been a little bit better. But no, I like that.
There's a difference. There's a difference between working on it with somebody else, where you can keep yourself
in the rails.
You can beat yourself down and slow yourself down based on your own opinion of yourself, which I'm really hard on myself too, honestly. And so I think when you have somebody that's going to say, I know you didn't do X, but I've seen you do this piece even better than you were expecting to do, and spin it into a positive. I think that's going to help both of us. And we're going to record our goals. So
sure.
End of 24, we're going to go back and review and make sure we made an effort towards them and keep them in writing. And I think that'll be something that gives us something to work on. So
sure.
And then the podcast, as far as the goals of the podcast, I think in addition to just the two of us, we've talked about bringing on some local entrepreneurs. I work with a ton of them. I know you do too. Mm-hmm. Work with people that are building their own business. Honestly, they're some of the people I respect the most because I know that they're working the hardest.
Sure.
And in that, do interviews with them, try to learn a little bit from them, try to have some accountability with them, and build some friendships and some awareness for their businesses as well. So, I've got a good list of people that I'm thinking about bringing on. I know you do too, and
we discussed some of them.
Yeah, excited to share some other Columbus entrepreneurs, and who knows, maybe it translates to outside of Columbus over time.
Sure. And I had a conversation. I've shared this with you privately, but a conversation with a businessman in Orlando who he's either retired or semi-retired now, but he co-owned the largest ADT franchise in the country, right?
He makes enough money to not work so hard.
Yeah, he does just fine. But one of the things he talked about, because when I get around people like that, I want to pick their brain, man. Like, I want to know like what got you to where you are, what you're doing. And the one thing he mentioned was the power of proximity, right? And it's like just being around people that want to be the best at what they're doing, whatever that is. It's not income related. It could be the janitor at the school. Like, I mop the floors in the cafeteria, but I mop the best effing floors that those are the type of people you want in
and follow their dreams too.
You, because good is going to come of that. Opportunity is going to come of that. Those are people that are pushing themselves, that want to be better, that want to do better. And again, it could be school teacher, that could be anything. It could be the garbage man. I think a lot of people get hung up in, it's social media society. So look what I got. Everybody wants to show off what they got and what they're doing and this, that, and the third. But the power of proximity, I believe, is huge in terms of that network and who and what you can pull from those people, and also what you can bring to the table as well, as opposed to what you can take off of it.
100%. I definitely want to share in my personal business and in my real estate business. One of the ways that I try to bring value is to highlight a lot of those local businesses that are, that I respect, a lot of clients that I work with, try to highlight them, bring them forward, share them without asking anything in return, because, I think it's important to support each other. They're kind enough to support me in my business in a lot of cases. So anything I can do to share that back to them is something great. And if it's just a few extra patrons or whatever, it's something that would mean a lot to me to be able to bring that to them. So
sure.
I'm excited to bring those type of people on as well.
No, that'll be fun. We can have some good conversations, and there's always crossover, because business, at the end of the day, business is business, right? Whether you're selling cars, selling real estate, you've got a gym that you run, whatever that looks like. The
entrepreneurship,
the nuts and bolts of everything in terms of owning, operating, driving revenue, and all of those things. That the fundamentals don't change. At the end of the day, you're running a business. You are what you're the culture you create, how you handle your people, your training, coaching, development, like all those things. That's that doesn't change regardless of the industry, in my opinion, anyways.
All right, man. Well, should we wrap it up for the day?
Yeah, man. We can wrap it up. Episode 1. Oh, before we go,
fist bump.
How do you feel about those the Bears tonight? What's I don't know how they didn't get flexed out.
It's the two worst teams in the league going at each other. It's the two worst teams going at each other.
Who do they play tonight?
Panthers and the Bears.
Oh,
the only two people be watching is the two fan bases.
Right.
And half of those fan bases will be so frustrated they won't watch the second half, I'm sure.
I'm not gonna lie, I might just go watch like a grade school flag football game.
Who could blame you? Who could blame you? Somebody's got to win, I think. Maybe they'll tie.
A tie would be amazing. unless you got money on it.
No, those Bears. I mean, it's just like whatever could go wrong goes wrong. Honestly, it's hard to watch. I know the Cowboys are like build up your dreams and then tear them down late in the season.
Yeah, they string you along. You along. Like, we're getting no, we're not. It's the same thing again. First round.
The Bears start early and they just keep poking the pain at you all season long. It's like, what else? Injuries, coaches getting fired. It's publicity issues, bad personalities on the team. There's week after week of drama.
Oh yeah,
in your squad, and it's tough to be a part of. But we're passionate sports fans, so what can we do other than support our team?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I look forward to Barstool Carl's videos every week.
But I go on the days after the games, and there's a good 15 to 20 minutes of me just listening to other people bitch that helps me feel better about my pain. And I think that's until the Cubs won the World Series, that was the Chicago MO. We had the great 90s with the Bulls and mid 2000s with the Blackhawks, but the Bears and the Cubs are also two of the biggest fan bases in Chicago, and we've just sucked for so goddamn long.
Yeah.
And we're good at being disappointed and knowing we suck.
Hey, at least you've got the Cubs won something. I mean, so here for Dallas, right? The Texans just won the World Series, so I'm feeling hopeful, right? Maybe a little luck will rub off, but we'll see.
Well, they're looking great. It'll be interesting to see if they have to go up against the Eagles towards the end of the year again, and they play each other again.
Actually, gave me hope, more hope.
Sure, you guys hung in there for sure.
They had many opportunities. They could have won that game very easily. I mean, they forced 3 fumbles. The Eagles recovered all 3 of them. I mean, how often does that happen in an NFL game? I mean, that's the probability of that is slim and none.
Let alone Dak almost scored that touchdown. I mean, there was a lot of close calls in that goal line dive by the tight end.
Don't even get me started on that. I get mad. Hang up this thing and just be pissed the rest of the day. But like the thing is like if you look at Dallas, so Dallas's next 3 games go Giants, Carolina, Washington, right? Eagles go Niners, Chiefs, just one other mixed in there. I think there's Dallas again, actually. Yes. So like when they face off again in 4 weeks, there's a good probability like they could be back to playing each other for first in the division again, depending on how the Eagles do against the Niners and the Chiefs. Which, I mean, that I think they play. I'd have to look it up and remember, but in Dallas, I think the week after Thanksgiving for first in the division, that'll be a ratings game.
Sunday night game, yeah. I mean, you guys are always in prime time, so
I hate it. I hate it so much. Like as a Dallas fan, that's the one thing I hate the most is they always are first in the league in night games, and with what time I get up in the morning, I will stay up and still get up in the morning, and the next day I am a zombie, dude. Going on like 3 hours of sleep.
Let alone all your buddies are always watching that game. I mean, if it's in the middle of the Sunday slate, most of your buddies aren't watching the game, but when they're all watching in prime time, razzing you about
Well, the worst is my dad, man. My dad, and I don't even know why. He will just root against whoever I'm rooting for in most cases, and he is relentless. He is relentless. He'll call me, and he does this because he knows it ticks me off. I've got YouTube TV. He does not. So I'm a couple seconds behind. So he'll call me, and then he'll start talking about the plays before they happen. I'm like, I'm hanging up the phone.
He's like, Michael Gallup has the dropsies.
Yeah.
Like,
he does.
What are you talking about?
And I'm like, I'm hanging up the phone. Don't call me until the game's over. And it's funny though, because now my dad texts. So if you know anything about my dad, it's hilarious that he, one, has a smartphone, and two, that he text messages. But it's, now he'll, instead of calling me, he'll just text me and needle me, which is nothing worse than getting needled through text by a 65-year-old farmer that barely knows how to use his phone. That's good. I appreciate it.
Fandom accountability right there.
Yes, I deserve it. But
all right, man. Well, let's wrap this one up for episode 1. Thanks for being on here with me. I'm excited to work on this with you.
Next time I won't wear my Sunday best. I've got a dinner later. This is not my.
You're going to church
That's
later.
a whole. Not to we can wrap it up, but not to go off on a whole other topic. I used to be, probably when we started working together, I used to be blazer every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like every day, gotta look professional. But there came a time where I'm just like, I probably started around pandemic, honestly. It was like, well, wait, we do real estate. I'm not, I'm not a pastor. I'm not, working at Wall Street. We're meeting people at coffee shops and houses, and
there may be days when I show up in a suit too, Steve. Don't knock it too much, all right?
I won't. I'll try not to. Right, dude. I appreciate this.
Likewise. I'll see you next one.
We'll get back on it.
Yeah, we'll talk before then, obviously, but see you on here next month.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Be good.
Peace.
Thanks, everybody.